welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is going to be our final Rivals 2 recap. We actually watched episodes 10, 11, and 12 just to finish it all out. So this podcast is going to be a little longer than our other Rivals recaps, but we've taken a little bit of time off from that. My name is Zach. I'm here with a best friend, Jake.
How's everybody doing tonight?
And my best wife, Hannah, is back tonight after not being here with us last week.
And best wife, you guys should meet as worst.
Yeah, you should meet my worst wife, which is also Hannah.
Hey!
I mean, it's true. You're the best and worst one because I only have one.
I don't like being called worst, though.
You're the best and worst part of his world because you are every part of his world.
His world revolves around me.
And Funko Pops. And knives. Hand, Funko Pops, and knives.
I don't think
in
that's
that order.
fully
No,
accurate.
And ska music.
the knives.
That's
the
probably
knives would
bigger
be
than the
second.
other ones.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I have watched episode 12 twice.
Well, here's the thing. You didn't tell us
you were
watching
the last episode.
Do I have to tell you guys when I watch Because of Winn-Dixie or The Mummy?
Yes, because I
No.
want to watch those.
Also,
Those are good movies.
We had only been watching 2 episodes, and when you said you were on your way, actually you said, I've got 30 minutes left in this episode, and I had seen when we started watching, you were only halfway through episode 11. So I was like, okay, he's going to finish episode 11. And I told Hannah, I was like, hey, when he gets here, we'll just say, do you want to watch episode 12 just to knock it out? And then we're
we'll all
done with
watch it
Rivals
together.
too. And then you got here, and you're like, I watched all of them. And we're
And we
like,
were
okay,
like,
well,
yeah,
you didn't say
watched
that.
the 2. We're gonna watch the last one, the absolute ending of the finale to find out who won. And you're like, yeah, that's what I already watched. And we're like, why did you do that?
Yeah, well.
Without telling us.
It's like you kept it a secret.
It's not like you have to tell us every time you watch something, but when it comes to
things that we're recording together.
well, and we've been
you're
watching
coming
2
over.
episodes at a time.
Well, and what was bizarre is you guys had to verify with me about 5 or 6 different times that I actually watched the finale.
Because you hadn't told
I
us
mean,
that you
Well, I kept it going as a running joke because
Zach,
he asked,
you
and
in
I was like, "Oh, so
particular-
you watched the one where you found out who won?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's what I just said." And I was like, "Yes, I know."
I
That
just
was the
wanted to make
joke.
sure that you didn't just watch 11 and 12 and then you actually watched 10 and didn't skip over that. That's what I was meaning. Because I understood from what you said that you'd watched the entirety of the finale.
He was like,
But I was like, did you watch 10? Because that's what we're going to talk about first.
you're like, did you see who won? Who won? How did they win? How long did it take them to win?
I didn't say that.
Where did they win?
Didn't say any of that.
Just
What
every way
show
you can
was
I
it
didn't
on?
say any
Yeah,
of that
what
at
show
all.
did
What
they win?
season? Who's the host?
You're just lying
Why did
now.
they win?
Is it reality or is it scripted?
Well,
Was
that-
it animation?
I never said any of those things.
Did you watch it at home or did you watch it on your phone in
Joke's
the
over
car?
hand.
Huh?
The joke's over him.
No, I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to dig it into the ground.
Yeah.
So we did watch all 10, 11, and 12. We're not going to watch the reunion because it's a reunion from 8 years ago. There's no reason to watch that. It's all happened and moved on. And we just want to be done with Rivals because we've been so busy doing Patreon exclusive stuff. And
We
then,
have done a lot of Patreon stuff in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
and that's what's pushed this Rivals recording back is because we had time-specific Patreon stuff we wanted to get done. And then also, obviously, the new season going on, that's kind of taking precedence, which new season's good. It's a good season so
it
far.
has been
good
really
season.
good.
So yeah, we're recording tomorrow night. Today's Tuesday, but this probably won't drop before tomorrow's episode because I don't want to drop 2 episodes in one day. So I'll probably drop the
This
new
one Thursday.
probably Friday or Saturday, just to give them something to have fun with on the weekends.
But you never know. Just have your hands out and ready. Could fall into your lap at any time.
They could, that's why you got to be subscribed, rate and review us on iTunes, subscribe to us wherever you get all your podcasting needs. Some people, someone messaged me today that they're going back and listening to all of the old episodes that they didn't listen to from the beginning.
Oh, no.
And-
Those are kind of a hot mess.
Have you gone back and listened to them?
There's a reason I haven't.
Oh, well, to be fair, you've never
remember-
listened to anything.
I
we've ever
remember
done.
recording them.
Have you listened to the Cam interview yet?
Yes.
No.
You can expect it is. You know what? I actually.
I haven't gone back and listened.
I've gone back and listened to maybe 2 or 3, not all the way through, but just kind of skimming through. We're like a television show. It's like we had to find our characters.
Oh yeah,
The first,
Yeah.
that first episode in particular, episode 0, it
Yeah.
was like, what do you guys think about CT?
Did we say that?
I don't know, but it was very just like...
I know I had a lot of notes.
There was never... Yeah. There was no, how's everybody doing tonight?
No.
There was no...
No nipple boys?
No nipple boys, no Josh's women's gift to the earth, no nothing. It was just...
Nobody knew I couldn't swim?
Well, we couldn't make in jokes until they happen.
Yeah,
and so,
well, here we are.
Yeah, it's... That first episode, the main thing was we were like, we've got to have enough stuff to talk about.
And then it went on forever.
That first episode's not that long.
Maybe an hour.
Well, then maybe it was the first official, like, episode number 1 that went on forever.
I don't think that's... I mean, I don't know.
Zach and I actually talked about this, I think, yesterday or day before yesterday, how earlier on, he used to have pages and pages of notes. And now we talked about this in the car within the last
is my favorite
48
Zach
hours
segment right
because
here.
he brought it up. We were talking about taking notes when we record for podcasts, and he said, now I just have like little phrases and like keywords, and those are my notes that I go off of. Whereas he used to write everything out and have just tons and tons of notes. And now, like Jake, you even said earlier tonight, you're like, when I'm not doing fantasy points, I don't know what to take notes on. And you're like, I hardly have any notes. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing.
How many notes I have in between my index finger and my thumb.
That also could be how small you shrink
font.
it down.
Yeah, well.
I used to take all of our notes, all my notes in a notebook, and I filled that from front to back. And then I moved on to another one, and then I finally started doing them on my phone. Just for the sake of convenience, because then you can pull them up on like your iPad or whatever else you need, and you can pull them up later a little bit easier. Just because I break it down episode by episode. When you're like having to scroll back through like pages of stuff, it's not fun to deal with, and I have bad handwriting. So
well,
you do have bad
handwriting.
Thank
you guys for hanging with us through the good and the bad. Also,
and the show's over.
Also,
it's been a great run. Hope you guys find another podcast to listen to. Good night.
Also, hope you guys all had a blast in Chicago. We were not there.
No.
Would you have liked to have been there?
I mean, it wasn't feasible right now.
Yeah, money's pretty tight.
Well,
yeah, that's not it.
It's because one,
not it.
One, we're all going on vacation in a month from
together.
Now. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. We're gonna have. Can we document this? Like do a videography type thing? Can we just a vlog?
Of our trip to Utah.
I'm not filming it.
If you bring your cameras, we can film.
You
and
ain't got
take
a
pictures
GoPro.
of whatever.
I do have a camera right there.
Oh man, let's just strap that thing up.
It's not a GoPro. It's not made for like.
I do kind of want to get a GoPro.
I had one and somebody stole it.
I do kind of want to get a GoPro for when we do stuff.
I'm gonna jump off a mountain.
I don't know what you're gonna land
on.
Yeah,
it's not a water trip.
Oh, is it not?
It's gonna be
no water down there.
No.
Yes, they do, but it's gonna be in like the 50s. They have water there.
Yeah, in bottles.
Oh god.
You think that you've seen water in Utah?
I have.
All over.
At the salt flats.
No, just in general, there's water. There's lakes and stuff.
But if any of you guys are in or near Utah and you want to grab a coffee together or something,
not if you're in Moab or Zion. That's too far.
We're gonna be in the Salt Lake, Park City area, mostly around there.
So if anybody's in Salt Lake and wants to hang out, then you can call us.
Drop in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah. Also, this is not the right show to be pushing that because not nearly as many people listen to these older recaps as they do the newer ones.
Well, he can bring it up tomorrow night too.
That's on
I'm gonna cut it out if you do.
Okay.
Just edit it out.
Great.
So
it was not feasible for us to go to Chicago because we're gone next month for a week, and there's just
the whole rest of the calendar year here. Yeah.
It didn't.
So many things going on right now. Yeah. I think I'm going to be out of town.
To be totally honest, I just wasn't super comfortable. Also, in a tight environment in a big city right now with all the numbers going up around Tennessee and things like that.
And money's pretty tight.
You keep coming back to that.
Is your money tight, Jake?
No, it's meant collectively.
We all share the same bank account.
We're on a small budget here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody needs to buy some bread. I gotta go get some bread tonight.
Okay.
Bread.
So, patreon.com/SmashingHeads podcast does have all of the Patreon exclusive things we've been doing. I'm assuming we're going to do more Survivor to finish that out soon.
Hot Morgan's gone, but
she lives on in my fantasy football team.
We also found out that she lasted long enough that she'll come back for the tribal council stuff. Mm-hmm. So she's gone, but not quite forgotten.
I mean, even if she was gone, you can't.
I wasn't going to forget her.
Yeah.
So anyway, check all that out, and then follow us on social media at Smashing Heads on Twitter, at Smashing Heads Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Like just for example, we're doing a fantasy football draft, which is over, so you missed that. But we also did a Zoom hangout during the draft. We've been doing the Survivor recaps, like we said. We also did a Redemption House where we did the draft order, and then also answer all of the patrons' questions.
I think that Redemption House was some of our best work.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it got really again. All the people in the Slack group seemed to really enjoy it.
Was that another Nipple Boys night?
It was just Jake and I. We recorded for 3 hours straight that night.
We did.
Yeah. So it's
though.
Check all that stuff out, and
I started sliding his socks off of my toes.
Not that I remember. So let's get into episode 10 of Rivals 2, which, by the way, let's make a pact that we don't have to talk about every single thing in this in these 3 episodes.
Yes, please. Okay. If either of you, we all have the right. If any of us, so Zach, if you bring up something that one of us feels is not discussion worthy, I cut you off. We cut you off. If Han does it, we cut her off. If I do it, you cut me off.
I punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Because, again, like, you've all watched this season at this point. It'd be weird if you were listening to these and either didn't watch it the first time around or haven't watched it this time around. It's on Paramount Plus, which is still not a good app, but it's got all the challenge stuff, or the most of the challenge stuff. Hannah, before we start, you finally finished this season. You had only watched a handful of episodes beforehand.
I had definitely not gotten this far.
I think this might be one of my top 5 seasons. Just cast, like, drama, the competition, the final. Like, I think this is a really...
You couldn't script it better.
It may not be, like, the best of the best, but it has all the components that you want in a really great season. And I had kind of forgotten about some of them. And then even in the last episode, they showed like a recap of all the crazy stuff that happened, and we'd been watching it for so long. Mm-hmm. I kind of forgot about, like, you had the catch-up thing with Jimmy, and you had,
Which is an infamous scene.
Well, you had Wes having the best line of possibly the series about his BMW and his monster truck and all that. So, great season overall. But episode 10... basically, everyone's just swimming in the rain, and
you ever done that?
It's showing I have. Yeah. You have, because you can't swim. You're flailing in the rain.
That's a T-shirt.
Not yet. It will be very soon.
It will be.
This episode was a very heavy CT and DM episode, but not in a positive way. It was very CT is manipulating you, which I did not get the impression until further on in this episode.
I think it's unfair to either of them to pick one side or the other, because there's so much history one way or the other, and we did not see everything that has happened between them in these episodes. And then, spoiler, once she goes home, they're fine with each other. Mm-hmm. You got to remember that they are long time on and off exes, and it's weird. Like, there's a weird dynamic in that, because it's real easy to go from love to hate in that when there's that much like feeling involved. Mm-hmm. And so it was a weird thing, but it wasn't a good look for CT, but there also was a lot of times in this episode where it wasn't a good look for DM.
Yeah. No, like I didn't think she was using him, and apparently most of the other people in the house didn't think so either.
To be fair, that's Bananas just talking a lot of it.
I do think Bananas was very protective of DM, or trying to be at least, which I guess made me realize how close of friends they actually were, like, in real life.
Well, I mean, he starts, telling her, hey, nothing's going to happen after the show, which is not true at all, but I know why he was saying it. then you get all the girls together, and Paula basically starts getting really upset because she realizes that some of these friendships are going to blow up.
And they did.
Yeah, I mean, again, shout out to Paula for just everything. Like, solid competitor all around. And I think she was right in the final episode. She's like, I feel like people think I'm not good at a lot of stuff. But I think she's really well-rounded. And so she sees it coming that there's going to be conflict, especially if Cook and Cara win the daily and they can't be thrown in. It's going to be the 3 friend teams going against each other. So we get to the daily. It's called color correction. It's basically a jog down the beach and then the game Simon.
It's like a mile long, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I didn't write down anything.
It's a long run.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, it's not nearly as long as like what the final would be. And then Jeyyy couldn't even make it the first half of the first run before she had to stop. And I was like, well, that's just going to show you how good she'd be in a final.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Jeyyy is the weak part of that team. I mean, Camilla's temper arguably could be the same thing, but I'd take Camilla with a temper any day over Jeyyy.
Yeah, because Camilla's at least a really good competitor.
Yeah, if you're trying to win,
yeah,
she's one of the greats.
She does lose her mind sometimes.
Yep.
Which can cost her and you if you're on a team.
But, I mean, Jimmy's the weak link on that team. I mean, honestly, you pair her up with any other girl left in these last 4 teams, and she'd be on a much better team.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jimmy's probably the weakest person on the show at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though Anissa never makes the finals, like it's been a running joke for so long, I'd take Anissa over Jeyyy at this point.
Was it Anissa that made the point that Diem is not good in eliminations?
Yes.
I meant to look that up.
She said that because once they found out they were going,
she said Diem gets really frazzled. Also, in this daily, Paula says that she's a long distance runner, and she's worried about Emily in this running back and forth. To which I had a note, how did people sleep on Paula?
Emily says later on, like, she's worried about that because she's got really great, like, fitness and she's really strong, but it's not a lot of as much cardio as, like, and it's different. It's a completely, like, and there's different types of even just, like, cardio. Like, when we used to play basketball a lot, which I don't play as much now, there was someone that wanted to play with us, and he was a runner. Like, he would just get up every day and run. And I couldn't do that. But when he started playing basketball with us, I could run up and down the court, and I was fine. And after like 5 or 10 minutes, he was like out of breath, and it's just different. Like there's different types of like fitness when it comes to different areas of
fitness.
Well, it's not sure. Yeah, just for simple terms. Yeah,
she was 1-5 in eliminations.
Who'd she win against?
Jen in the duel 2.
Jen G.
Was there
Yeah, that's Jin G. I don't remember her last name really. Not a great elimination record.
But I think you saw why. I mean, the whole from
she gets in her head
episode 10 until she went home. Like, good Lord.
Well, even in this daily, she freaks out and won't trust Anissa to remember all the colors, and that ultimately cost them to get in last place. Because she gets frazzled.
She's trying to memorize all of the colors by herself. And if you're smart, you're going to split it up where one of you takes the first half and then the other one takes the other half. But we know that Anissa is good at memorizing things.
And I don't remember when that kind of narrative kind of became common knowledge. Like now Anissa is known as she's really good at puzzles, not good at endurance stuff, but like you can count on her to like figure stuff out. And I don't remember watching this back then being like, oh, Anissa's got this. Like I don't know when that kind of flipped. I remember back then everyone was like, oh, she's great in eliminations. And really she's like 50-50.
Well, Zach, that's something we'd have to all go back and study the tape on.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Kari and Cook finished first in this one. Paula and Emily get second. So that knocks out Jeyyy and Camilla and
Diem and Anissa.
Why couldn't I remember their names? I just talked with them. Yeah, they're all out. And so that means they have no chance to be safe for the guys don't have to do anything today because there's no more guys eliminations.
Well, Diem and Anissa out of the two of them and Camilla and Jimmy, they were the last to finish, and so
just because Diem got frazzled and just like wouldn't let him leave.
That sends them straight to elimination, which sends Diem into an even further state of frazzleness.
Yeah, is that a frazzleness?
Frazzleness.
I don't know. It sounds like Frazzle Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
I was thinking Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus.
Fraggle Rock, and it sounds like frazzleness sounds like a word that they would say while they eat the construction workers' sugar buildings.
I saw a tweet the other day that said
That was my favorite part of the show, when
said
they would eat the people's houses.
all the kids from the Magic School Bus could be inside your butt right now, and you wouldn't know it.
Oh, yeah, they did take it up at one. Yeah.
Yeah, Red Ralphie or something.
Red Ralphie.
He was sick, and they're like, we're going to go inside him. And they didn't tell him.
That was weird?
Well, it was like they went through his mouth, and it was like a science thing, but they went through his whole body.
And they had to come out his butt.
Or his penis. It's one or the other.
You can't say that word on this children's podcast.
Well,
Red Ralphie.
That's the correct word for it. So anyway, round 2 they go. It's even more numbers. I think it was 12 the first time and 17 the second time. And Kari tells Cook, she's like, I got it. She's like, I don't know why, but I got it. And so Cook's like, all right. And then they go, and she had it.
Yeah, Paul and Emily spent twice as much time at the lights as Cook and Kara. They got there before them and didn't leave until way after Cook and Kara had left already.
It's just like, it's so weird watching back Kara in these seasons compared to now. Like, even now, though, I'm like, it's a little cringy, but still, she was so much more likable back then. And, like, just watching anything she's in now, I'm like, I don't really care if she's ever back on the show, to be honest. I think they're done. I think her and Polly are on the
she has
FU train at this point.
She has said something about trying to join like wrestling, the wrestling scene.
Jake would have to comment on that.
Has she not said that in the past before?
She has.
That's been years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like if no, I saw where she like actually commented.
How likely would
it
be for like
Instagram.
a 35, 36-year-old to break in?
I
don't know.
Diamond Dallas Page, that's when he, really started becoming. I mean, you remember Diamond Dallas Page from WCW? That's when he
Woman Crush Wednesday
went in. What?
You said WCW. Is that Woman Crush Wednesday?
That is World Championship Wrestling.
That was before they bought the WWE and.
But he was 90s? in his mid-30s, and he's one of the greats.
But the industry's changed now.
It has.
So that's why I didn't know if like there were any like especially female wrestlers that like make their debut at that age, because it seems like they're all like in their 20s when they're like coming through there.
Yeah.
Because I don't watch wrestling enough. I don't think you even watch wrestling that much now.
No, and I tell you what, if I'm gonna start tuning in, it'd be AEW, 100%.
Well, regardless,
she could be the outlier that makes a later debut.
It's not gonna happen.
I've heard her talk about it a lot in the past, and then she brought it up recently enough. I'm not really on social media a lot right now, but
well, you keep us in the loop, Han.
I didn't think if maybe she was
happening.
seriously.
I would bet money it's not happening.
Pursuing it.
I'd just keep us in the loop, Han. You seem.
I'd give David Arquette the money to get in there before her.
Yeah.
So Bananas, when he finds out DM and them are going in, he's like, hey, who do you want? You want Camilla and Jimmy? That's the choice. Like, it doesn't matter that they ended up losing to them. Camilla and Jimmy are the choice to go against.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And, like, he whispered to DM, obviously that's who you want, right? And then Camilla walked over there and got really upset. She's like, you guys are talking about me behind my back and saying all this crap.
Honestly, pretty tame for a Camilla interaction.
I know. But also, DM didn't really say anything. It was Johnny just asking, hey, this is who you want, right?
But you got to remember Camilla's... Well, actually, I don't know if she's exes with Johnny at this point.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can also, I know how I am as a competitor, and even if deep down I know that's the decision, the competitor in me is, like, annoyed and irritated that it's just an automatic that you're just going to vote me in.
Yeah.
I get that, but she got mad at DM more so than Johnny.
Because she's going against DM.
Yeah, it's all misdirected anger at this point.
Kind of like the night thing.
Well,
the misdirected anger.
so DM comes in after this, and like, everyone likes Diem. Whatever.
But we have to,
She has a weird, like, hatred for Cook.
I feel like there's something that we weren't shown.
But we
because how did it start? It feels like it came out of nowhere.
But this is a pattern. If you go back and watch over older seasons with Diem, this is a pattern with her. And she gets like weirdly, irrationally, like, these weird sort of vendettas towards people.
Yeah,
that's
like
just like.
And I didn't
person.
remember that before watching back through these old ones.
Because I think you want to, right? Like you know what Diem went through, and you want to just be like, man, and like nobody's arguing like her character or anything, but in the context of the game, she had a tendency to just like with one or two or a few of the women in the house just out of nowhere be like the nerve of these.
Yeah, it's like
what
she latches on to like really.
I mean, she called.
It's like she's selected a new nemesis for each season.
She called Cook an elitist, egotistical, and arrogant.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I honestly, if I had to be like psychoanalytical about it, I think she's threatened by her, and
Cook's a good
she knows
competitor.
Cook's a good competitor, but she also doesn't have the ties to the like veteran group that everyone else does.
And even Emily confirmed that like when Diem loses control of the situation, this is when she gets crazy. Like,
Yeah, and like when she was going, which we're not there yet, but like we are, we're here. When she was like going around the house, like in this episode later on, like she looks like something like clicked, and like she's in a completely different headspace, and
Like she's a different person.
yeah, I mean she puts on the deliberation dress or whatever that they call it, and then Frank eggs it on. He's like, "When was the last time CT kissed you?" And I was like, "Okay, Frank's bringing a kissing timeline."
Yeah,
and so then, like, she calls CT and Wes in there, and she's like, "Hey, why haven't you guys talked to me about the elimination?" And they're like, "Well, you haven't talked to us about it, and you told us you wanted to go against the tougher team." And she's like, "Yeah, I said that, but I don't want to do it." And it's like, okay, well, you said that if Cook and Kara weren't gonna win that day, you wanted them, even though they were a tough team. But it's like, I don't know. It was a lot of mixed signals, to say the least.
It was a lot of mixed signals, but also I kind of saw her side of it too, because, if the roles were reversed, she would approach them and say, "Who do you want us to vote for?"
But I don't think that it's wrong that they didn't.
Maybe not, but Johnny and Frank were not helping the situation by telling her that CT owes her that, like, her whoever she wants, he owes her that much for all the bones that she's thrown to them throughout this season.
what do they talk about when you go into marriage counseling? Uncommunicated expectations.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe this was an uncommunicated expectation.
I can see what you mean.
I can
by
see
that. Like she just assumed it was going to be this one way, and he just was like, "You told us you wanted the tougher team," and
yeah. But also, if she
I also think he's really annoyed with her at this point.
Yeah, but also if she comes to you and she's like, obviously I don't want to go against Paula and Emily because, one, they are the strongest female team in the house, but two, those are probably their closest allies. I would assume that's not who you want to go against. If there's a very, very, very slim chance of you winning that, why would you want to vote that person in? And so I think she's trying to explain that to them, and they're like, "Oh, but you just kept saying how you wanted the toughest team or whatever," which I kind of think.
I think at that point they were annoyed and just like.
But to me, it was they were showing their cards, which I kind of thought was a jerk move, basically telling her that they're going to vote for Paula and Emily regardless.
Well, their point,
even though she said
their
she doesn't
point
want
of
that.
view was there's no reason to go after Jimmy and Camilla because they've had their back throughout the season, and they're not really close with Paula and Emily.
But Diem and Anissa haven't had their back.
They've
had their back the whole season.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but that's the reasoning they gave on camera. Even Wes said was Jimmy and Camilla have had their back. They don't want to throw them in, and Paula and Emily haven't proved anything at this point as far as eliminations. And
CT was correct in saying all you had to do was not come in last.
I understand that. I totally agree.
I mean, I think he is also at the point. It's one of those weird dynamics where it's like an ex, and you're just kind of fed up with it, and it's like you're just being a jerk because you can be. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of what he was doing as well too.
And it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like defending like that he did it the right way. All we can go off is what we see and what they tell us. Anyway, Jimmy. I mean, they go to the deliberation. Well, before that, Paula and Emily are crying to Jordyn. Well, Paula's crying to Jordyn and Marlon. And then Jimmy makes it a big thing.
Jimmy looked like she was ready to hoop. Did you notice that? She had on somebody's...
I think they were Knights, but they were even big. They'd have been big on night.
Yeah.
They were like down.
I thought that it was like a long, loose skirt, and then I realized they were like basketball shorts.
Those are like 3X gym shorts.
They were so big.
It's like if Jinko's made gym shorts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that happened, and she told everyone she wasn't going to cry. And, I mean, even Paula admitted, she's like, guys don't like to see women cry. We're hoping it changes their mind. Like, it was almost like it was pre-calculated or... pre-calculated? I don't think that's the right... Premeditated. Yeah, calculated or premeditated. But or she just did it, and then in a confessional, she's like, oh, yeah, they don't like it, so...
I could see the tears being like Paula's Hail Mary.
I don't know. You got the deliberation. It basically came down to Jordyn and Marlon, and they voted in Jimmy and Camilla. Which guarantees Emily and Paula straight to the final with Cook and Cara.
This vote shocked me because Paula and Emily had voted in Marlon and Jordyn twice already.
But they're also on their reasoning was that they've dominated so much they deserve to be here.
Which is not typically what you see.
But they're rookies.
I know. That's the thing, like, because Jordyn said he saw how hard they worked all season. They put in the work. They put in the effort, which they did. But typically, if another team votes you in, not once but twice, and you hold all the power in whether or not they go in, and you don't do it, that's a rookie move. But also, like, I don't know if maybe Paul and Emily knew the way his brain works and how he sees, whoever works and puts in the effort deserves it, and they were just kind of playing on that, or what? But it worked, whatever they did.
I don't think it's that, to be honest. I think it's just like, if you're looking at the teams, you probably got along with Paula and Emily better than you did with Jimmy and Camilla. Jimmy and Camilla were causing problems at different points, and it's just like, I don't know, and like they said, like they'd won like 80% of the dailies, and so I think they're trying to just do them a solid. They deserve to be there. They played better than all the other girl teams, and they ended up winning because of it. So Camilla and DM start getting into it. It becomes a big thing. Anissa becomes like a big sister role and like steps in, and
CT is rooting for Jimmy under his breath. The whole rest of the house is at the doorway watching, and CT's yelling, "Get her, get her."
Devil's advocate, though. If you have an ex and they're acting a little crazy.
She had been acting crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to be like, yeah, right there. That's what I'm all about. I get.
No, but he could have just been quiet. He didn't have to.
Well, he wasn't yelling, Han.
But he didn't have to actively root for the opposing team in front of everybody else in the house. Well, because Johnny had.
It wasn't anything team oriented. It was just like they were just arguing.
It was a.
He was doing it in front of Johnny.
He was doing it in front of everybody else in the house.
But nobody else heard him. It was like right there kind of whispered to Johnny.
Yeah, I know. And Johnny had a weird look on his face. I thought he was about to say something to CT.
I think that it was cut in a way to make it seem like CT was doing more than he was. Because the only time you ever saw CT's side of it was like a cutaway to where he's back behind the glass.
He's leaning on the doorway.
Yeah.
But Johnny was standing in the doorway.
But that's my point, is he wasn't making a scene of it. He wasn't like yelling it in front of everybody.
The whole house was standing in that doorway watching, and he was at the front, and he was saying that under his breath.
I don't know.
And you said he was yelling, though.
No, I didn't.
Did I hear that wrong?
You did.
I don't know. Anyway, this is when DM just kind of like starts like, I wrote that she was almost like a Stepford wife. Like she's just walking around with her wine in her hand. Well,
Camilla
and a dress.
or Jimmy one made a joke about her walking around, sauntering around the house with her.
Yeah, and it's just like she had like a look like she was out to cause drama or problems, and
if I'm Camilla, like I'm rightfully, I think, in a mood because when Diem and Aneesa realized that was the team they were going against, they visibly were like, "Oh yeah, we got it. This is good." Like, if you're Camilla and Jimmy, why wouldn't you be annoyed at that?
No, I
would be too. I think Camilla and Jimmy took it maybe a little too personal. It's
$1 million. It's or however much money they're playing
It's
for.
not $1
It's
million.
like, nah, dude. Like,
it's not $1 million. It's not even close to $1 million.
I ain't no chump change out here.
I know. I just think if it were any female team up there, regardless, Diem and Aneesa, if it was anybody, if your two options are Camilla and Jimmy versus Paul and Emily, I'd probably be a little excited too, because at least if you're going against Paul and Emily, you likely don't have much of a chance.
You never know, because we just watched on Spies, Lies, and Allies, freaking Huey and Amber B won that elimination.
Which is why you temper your emotions.
And like, I'm not saying that they were wrong to be excited about that.
I'm not even,
I think it was more of shock that Jordyn and Marlon voted that way.
But as the other competitor who just got thrown in, I would take it like
I would take real serious offense to that. Like, okay,
and,
you just gave me like extra fire.
And honestly, like Camilla and Jimmy, because we know like the level they can get to, didn't even really take it that far. Like, they can both go way crazier than what anything happened.
We watched Camilla zombie walk into a swimming pool.
Yeah, so, like, the main thing is Diem is lashing out and causing scenes because she's hurt by the way that everything went with CT and all that stuff. Because, again, there are feelings there. There's long-time feelings going back for years now.
And she's been made to look like a fool.
And then you got Johnny and them egging it on, and they're out by the pool, and they're like, CT, you coming in for the swim? And he's just kind of walks off. And they motion at Diem. Well, they motion at Diem, and she like makes it a point, like, "Oh, I'm going to make some trouble now." And then,
Johnny told Diem that she needed to talk to CT.
And then he points at the camera, he's like, "Go, go, 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 go!" And then it wasn't any. It was just like dumb, like drama, but nothing big. And it's just it all became a bigger thing than what it needed to be. And then they go into the final jungle, and that's just my last note was...
Well, Diem cried to Emily about being used and manipulated.
Yeah, I know. She was just hurt. And so they go to the final jungle. It's to be continued. And then episode 11 starts, and we see it's the same elimination from Kara and Cook versus Anastasia and Jessica. That Cook peed in the water and all that stuff.
That was a good one.
There was nothing different about it, right?
No.
So they get going. Basically, Jimmy's not doing anything. Diem's not doing anything. And then finally Jimmy realizes, well, the least I can do is like pick up the rope so Camilla can cut it. And on the other end, you've got Diem just like freaking out.
It's no wonder they lost.
Yeah. I mean, she started off frazzled because she kept saying, I can't reach it. I can't reach it. I can't reach it. She was just freaking out. And
that's going to cause all kinds of problems. And Aneesa's like, I need you to help me cut this. And she's not doing that. She's not doing what even Jimmy did. Finally, everyone just tells her, like, hey, like, grab the rope. Like, put your saw between the rope and pick it up. And so she does that. They finally get going. But, I mean, Jimmy and Camilla are so much further ahead at this point. I think they're a full, like, rope cut ahead.
Yeah, and then Aneesa starts gassing out.
Which is par for the course, but honestly, this is, a better showing for Aneesa than, current seasons, things like that. But, I mean, it wasn't even, like, really a close elimination. Like, Diem freaked out. Aneesa couldn't do it on her own. And then, another, by the book, Aneesa doesn't make a final. She
goes home in the last elimination before the final.
Yeah, which has happened to her a handful of times. Mm-hmm. So CT was cheering for Diem, for anyone wondering. He was trying to help her out, get on her side. And then they go home. and right before she leaves, CT picks her up, like just bends over that railing and picks her up like it's nothing.
Like you do a toddler.
And it's like from such a disadvantage, like height, like that's a lot of like
just lower back.
Yeah, like it's just like a lot.
I do
of
that
strength.
Exercise every time I do back and biceps, and
you pick up a full grown woman every single time.
I pick up a 45-pound plate.
Okay, well
she's not 45
She's probably
pounds.
3 of those.
I'm aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that she's that much. I'd probably put her.
130. That's 135.
She's probably a little less than that.
Regardless.
115, 120.
Yeah, it's about 3 of them, and she like it was like nothing. He just picked her right up, and
they hugged. Nice little goodbye hug, which surprised me. I didn't think she would do that after the night
but
before.
Again, with like exes like that, things swing so, especially with their history. Like they have a very long history, and they can swing one way or the other. And so they leave, and they both say they're on good terms. And obviously they get back together later on. Like it's not like this was the end of the world or anything like that. So TJ hints that it's too hot in Thailand, but then doesn't say anything else. He's like, yeah, it's just really hot. And everyone's freaking out. So they go back to the rooms, or to the not hotel, whatever the house is. And it's not. He tells them just kind of like take a few days off, train. In the middle of all this, Emily is worried about herself in the finale.
Paula's worried that they're going to go somewhere cold.
Yeah, and Emily's I think she's from Denver at this point, so she's used to the snow and all that. But
can I tell you what I miss?
What?
And I'm taking a little bit of a step back. I think we need more hard rock and metal music during eliminations, and more acoustic. Your favorite emo,
good one,
kind of stuff when people go home.
Okay. I didn't like the song. I didn't like the song choices in these.
It just evokes a certain kind of emotion. Hence emo.
Yeah, great.
Just Zach's favorite genre.
I really
it's his
wish
favorite word.
You would stop. You're going to tear up that cord.
I'm not being hard on it.
You've been tying in knots for the last like 10
not
minutes.
Tight.
Okay, well it's got wires in it that can fray.
That's fine.
Anyway,
those headphones suck anyway.
They do. Those are awful headphones. So
Kara gets swimming coaching lessons.
Yeah, from CT and Cook, and it ultimately didn't matter, even though she was in last place on the thing. They ended up solving their puzzle, but Johnny comes in and he tells them, "Hey, we got a clue from TJ. We're going to Tokyo." And I'm thinking in my head, because I haven't watched through this finale in years, I'm like, did Bananas lie to all of them? Like, did he read this thing and just tell them something completely different than what it says?
That would be so funny.
I don't think the production would let him.
But that would be funny.
But in my mind, I'm like, I know they go to an island. I was like, it's definitely not Tokyo.
Well, I didn't know, because I've never seen this before.
Yeah, I didn't.
So I was trying to figure out how they would do a final in the middle of a big city like that.
Well,
which is what Paula got frazzled about.
Yeah, so was everyone, because they've never done a final like that. And that would be almost like The Amazing Race, where they have to like navigate through like crowded cities and all this stuff. Which would be an interesting. I wouldn't mind it as a final necessarily.
Yeah, run it in Tokyo,
it'd
guys.
Be super,
Let's go.
Super different. But on the other side of that coin, Wes was really upset about doing a final in Tokyo, because he said that he and CT had been training the whole season for a final in Thailand, in that heat, in that humidity, in that terrain and environment, and to be put somewhere kind of the total opposite. He was really upset about.
Is Tokyo the opposite of Thailand?
Zach, I don't know.
Island,
You're asking the wrong
desert.
guy.
I mean, if they went like to the Alps or whatever, then like, because they've done that where they like completely switch.
But it's major city, in the middle of a major city.
Which again,
opposite-wise.
I wonder how you would be able to do that just with like legal things.
And all the people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with COVID and stuff, you couldn't really do it. But
well, in 2013, they didn't have COVID.
That is an astute observation here.
Actually, there were COVID stuff back then, just not COVID-19.
Oh, God.
That's true.
There had to be 18 others.
Yeah. Because, they've had COVID variants since, like, 2002 or something like that.
That's why it says COVID on your flu, or your flu.
By the way,
Lysol cans.
CT doesn't want to be Dan Marino.
Who's Dan Marino?
Wow.
You don't know who Dan Marino is? He was in Ace Ventura 1.
He wasn't. Or it was 2.
1. It was 1. Ace Ventura 2 is when they go to Africa, when nature calls.
That's right.
One is about the dolphin being kidnapped.
Yeah, that's right.
He was
the woman turned out to be a man.
Yeah, which you couldn't do these days, I don't think.
Yeah.
That was the whole joke. And also, Courtney Cox is in Ace Ventura 1.
He had his penis tucked into his...
He did. That was it. And that was the big reveal. It was like, oh, this woman is a man. And they did it. So,
wow.
Spoilers for Ace Ventura 1.
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse is in that movie, too. And Jim Carrey was a big fan of them. Which is very weird.
You learn something new every day.
List off the rest of the cast?
I could. Dan Marino was one of the best quarterbacks of like the 90s, but he never won a championship. Like that was saying. And, CT says, I don't want to be Dan Marino. He broke all kinds of passing records. Now people are breaking. Like Drew Brees broke a bunch of them. But
it's a different era, Zach.
It's a different era.
It is different.
But it was funny. In 2013, he said, I want to be Tom Brady, which how many rings has Tom Brady won since 2013? At least 3.
You think 3?
Probably, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. 3 sounds right.
Well, CT thinks he's one of the best people to ever be on the challenge.
He is.
Arguably, not arguable, he is.
Yeah, for sure he is.
He just didn't have the fruits to show it.
Yeah, he had a lot of weird things happen. But they go on the bus. They think they're getting on a transport to take them to a plane to go to Tokyo. And then a little van pulls up, and all these masked men come out. And
yeah, this was stupid. What
TJ's,
was the point of this?
It was like, you aren't going to Tokyo.
Oh, gotcha.
Maybe.
Well, they didn't know what was going on.
Well, here's the thing. One, when they were on the bus, it kept showing like Johnny telling stories or jokes or whatever, and I kept thinking, this is really weird. I feel like something's going to happen because it's just they're too focused on hanging out on the bus. And then once masked TJ kidnaps all of them, I thought maybe they did this just to mess with their minds because they started the final that day, right?
It seemed that way. It seemed that they started because they were all wearing the same clothes and stuff.
Yeah. So all I could think was maybe he just kind of wants to throw them off or whatever and get them less mentally prepared for the final.
I didn't mind that it was a surprise. Oh, hey, by the way, you're not going to Tokyo. You're going to a dock, and the final's starting right now. Like I don't mind that as a concept.
You're not as mentally prepared. You're just thrown into it like, hey, go do it now.
So they get kidnapped. They go out, and then they find out the prize money is $15,000 for third, split between the pairs. I'm sorry, split between each pair. So $30,000 total for third, like $7,500 a piece, and then $35,000 for second, and then $125,000 for first. So there's like $350,000 total up for grabs. But honestly, coming in first, you really only get like $6,700. I mean, sorry, $67,000, and then after taxes and all that, you're probably lucky to take home like $45,000. So you got to think just how much the show has changed in the last handful of years.
Yeah.
The money.
It's $1 million minimum.
Yeah, even the spinoff is crazy amount of money.
500,000, wasn't it?
For one person. So
that's why whenever TJ announced the prize money, everybody was so excited about
it was a lot of money.
About $125,000 split between you and another person. They're like, this is life-changing money. Which it is. That's a lot of money. But compared to the $1 million prize that they have now, it just felt like it wasn't much.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels like a third place.
That's
now.
what's annoying about like the Final Reckoning final, like that. The first season we watched, where it's like, oh, they got to like spend the night in like a hotel and drink wine and eat pizza and stuff, and it was for $1 million.
Yeah.
And like this final sucks. Like
It's bad.
It's not like it's a good one to watch, but it is a tough one to do. And the fact that you might take home like $50,000 for first place, which is still a lot of money for 8 weeks of work or whatever. But still, they go to start out on a yacht outside Dream Island, and TJ tells him, you gotta swim to shore
a mile.
Yeah, and then solve a puzzle, and then kayak back, and only the first two teams will make it to day 2. The third place team's eliminated. So you still get money guaranteed, even if you don't finish.
But you don't see the rest of the final.
Yeah, which again, Jimmy could not have handled this final. And Jordyn and Marlon. I think Jordyn and Marlon would have fared pretty well in the final.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get going. Emily and Paula finish the swim first. They pick the horseshoe pattern. Camilla and Jimmy pick horseshoe. Marlon's the last guy to swim in there, same way Cara was the last girl. Wes and CT pick up the horseshoe. Bananas and Frank pick the cross. Marlon and Jordyn pick the cube. Paul and Emily change to the cube. Cara and Cook pick the cross. And then Wes and CT finish before anybody else. And then Frank and Johnny switch to the cross. And this is a tough puzzle because the shapes aren't uniform. And it's so big that you can't, take a step back to, really get a full view of everything. And, in the middle of it, Frank doesn't work well under pressure, and that makes Johnny not work well. And then Camilla doesn't work well under pressure, and Jimmy doesn't really do anything well in final stuff.
Well, Frank, when he gets under heat, he just starts frantically doing things willy-nilly, and then Johnny is the complete opposite. When he feels the pressure, he wants to slow down, take a minute and look at it. And so Frank just pulling stuff and knocking stuff over.
But Johnny did it too.
Frank pulling stuff and knocking stuff over got Johnny really frustrated. So when when they picked a new puzzle and started over, Frank had the base set up, and then Johnny just got frustrated and started knocking stuff over too. So they were not working well together.
No, Johnny wouldn't talk. That was the thing, is he just was like, I got it. Let me figure this out, instead of trying to talk through it. Camilla just gets frustrated. She just growls and doesn't want to.
She doesn't do well in team settings.
No, what season was she partnered with Nelson? I mean, not Nelson, but Corey for a minute, and they just completely. It was pretty recent. They just completely fell apart because it's one of those where you switch partners every whatever. I don't remember what season it was. It was not long. It may have been Dirty 30, honestly.
You could be right, Zach.
I haven't watched back through those since they aired. So Wes and CT finish first. They get back to the boat. So they're on to day 2. Kari and Cook actually finish first. They make it back. So they're on to day 2. Then Paul and Emily make it on. And then you got Jordyn and Marlon basically knowing that they're probably a minute or two behind Frank and Johnny, that they're going to run out of time. And they're strategizing about when we get the buzzer for, timeout, I'm going to go do this, you do this, so we're not just fumbling around. And this episode ends with basically you see a kayak flip and it's so far away that you can't tell who it is, and you got Frank and Johnny a little bit ahead of Jordyn and Marlon, and you don't know who's going to make it. I mean, the money's on the team who left first.
You're right, Zach.
So episode 12, which Jake had already watched and had not told us about, starts, and it's Marlon and Jordyn flips. That doesn't surprise anybody, I don't think. Bananas and Frank make it, and then TJ's basically like, too bad, guys.
That sucks for Jordyn and Marlon because they were right there too.
It seems like they were close. Jimmy and Camilla didn't even leave the beach.
No, because as soon as Paul and Emily got to their kayak, Camilla basically just gave up.
I don't necessarily blame her. You're not going to make. They're gone, and you're not even close to finishing your puzzle. You're not close to a timeout.
I understand.
It's just, it is what it is. They weren't. Honestly, they weren't going to do anything in the final anyway. So, day 2 starts. You're on Dream Island for day 1. This is Nightmare Island. Basically 5 checkpoints, and in between each checkpoint, you have to make a lap around the island, which honestly, they didn't show very much of the running stuff. They just kind of showed them approaching the little podiums and then heading back into the middle.
Well, we've got this theory, Zach, that MTV listens in on this pod, so why don't you tell them you'd like to see more
Hey, can you re-edit this? And
let me see them run.
Do the Snyder cut of Rivals 2?
Which
real time.
Fits well with our current sponsor for the fantasy segment, Skechers.
Well, these were Under Armour.
Go running.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they could make the switch.
Okay. They might. You never know.
You don't think Skechers has top-notch athletic gear?
I don't.
Hey, remember like 5 to 10 years ago when Skechers came out with shape-ups and every woman over 25 had to own 1 or 2 pairs at least?
I was not aware of that.
If you purchased a pair of shape-ups, they were real weird.
Kim Kardashian was the face of that.
Demi Lovato was too. Weird thick tennis shoes, and they had
Weird thick
they
tennis
kind
shoes on
of
a thick girl.
they kind of bowed like this.
Bow-legged.
Yeah, kind of. But like it was almost like you were walking on like moon shoes.
I mean, I gotta be honest.
And they're supposed to make your butt really big. And so everybody went out and bought them, and I was like, those are the ugliest shoes I've ever seen, and I never bought any.
Well, I gotta be honest about 2 things. One, Kim Kardashian had a big butt before those shoes were ever invented.
That's true.
2, when I think of someone that has a big butt, I wouldn't have Demi Lovato even on the top 100. I wouldn't.
Oh, she's got a cake.
But
Demi Lovato is thick.
It's not somebody that I would have been like, when I think of synonymous with big butts.
Miley Cyrus.
No.
No.
I've heard she's real weird. Like I do not find her attractive at all. But it's like she creeps me out.
Beyond looks, her music sucks.
That's true too. The only good thing she's ever done was Jolene by Dolly Parton.
Jolene.
Yeah,
That's her godmother.
Well, hey, I like a woman in some Skechers now.
Go running, am I right?
Come on running, girl. Come on running into my arms.
When you had Tinder, you were like Skechers only.
Yeah.
Swipe left.
Yes.
Yeah.
If
That's
you
why-
wear Nikes, don't even bother.
That's why I only lasted a month.
Adidas, get out of here.
Yeah, Tinder is like, you got to get off here.
Let me see you. Let me see that stride, girl.
Yep, that's it.
So the first checkpoint is basically
The Cracker Barrel Ignoramus game. That's what they call it. If
I knew I have it as a Cracker Barrel game, and CT said as much, but without calling a name brand restaurant. He said a breakfast country buffet or something like
a country breakfast restaurant.
that. Yeah, which
Are those
is Cracker
primarily in the South?
I would assume so, but they probably have a bunch of them. I can look
Yeah,
that
pull
up.
up the locations
Let me
for
pull it
all
up.
Cracker Barrels.
Most of them are in the South.
It seems like a Southern thing.
I know. I have been.
What you building with that globe?
I needed a website icon,
I've been to one state.
not PNG. That's what I was looking at.
I've been to another state where they did not have a Cracker Barrel. Anywhere near.
Also, did you go to everywhere in the state?
Yes. Locations.
You're like, I
and
didn't see it.
hours.
That means they don't have one anywhere.
Yep. That's exactly what it means. Find a Cracker Barrel. Just zoom out and see where all the locations are.
Okay. Wow, is there just the 3?
No.
Yeah, there's only the 3 around us. Let's browse by state.
Oh, we're going to go through all 50. Oh.
Oh,
1, 2,
okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, They're in 45 out of the 50 states.
Wow, what 5 states are they not in?
Alaska for sure.
Hawaii?
Hawaii. It is in alphabetical order this way, like
Rhode
left to
Island?
right.
New Jersey.
There's Rhode Island there.
New Jersey.
New Jersey's
right
one.
there.
Oh, no, it's right there under North Carolina.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Let's not go through all these.
But definitely Alaska and Hawaii.
Definitely,
Hey.
they're like
What
screw.
about the Dakotas?
Like, we're the original
I
48
see
only.
South
There's
Dakota.
North Dakota, yeah.
I see North Dakota. Utah has at least one Cracker Barrel, so I think we're okay.
I'm not going to Cracker Barrel while we're in Utah.
They got any local spots in Utah?
No, it's only
Nope.
Cracker
Nope,
Barrel.
only chains.
They do have In-N-Out, which you've never been to, and it's really good.
Okay.
It's
been a while since I had a good burger.
Yeah.
We're gonna take you. We're gonna take you to the saloon place we go to.
We're gonna take you. We're gonna take you.
Y'all, you're getting fired up
on
over there.
on Main Street because they do bison burgers
Oh, yeah.
and they're so good.
Bison is grass
So,
good meat.
Grass good meat.
The Cracker
Grass.
Barrel
They eat
game.
grass.
The Cracker Barrel game. CT and West finish first, and then Cara and Cook finish for the girls first.
Did you like CT's question when he finished the game? Who's the puzzle master?
How do you
He's the puzzle
expect
master.
me to answer that?
Sometimes I just want to know how you feel about certain things. quotes.
Indifferent because I didn't even write it down. Bananas.
Man, I don't think you would have wrote it down if Frank would have said it.
I would have. I like Frank a lot.
Bananas and Frank finished second. And
Johnny kept getting frustrated with Frank because Frank was going willy-nilly with this puzzle, too. Yes, he did.
I've said it. He gets
frazzled.
Most easily worked up into a tizzy out of anybody that's ever been on the channel.
Now I don't know about that.
I'm on it. I'm on the hill.
I'm not going to give that game wise. Now drama wise, yes.
Again, I'm not saying he has the worst temper.
No.
I'm saying he's the most easily worked up into a tizzy.
He does get
Doesn't take
Into
a lot.
a tizzy pretty
easily
easy.
provoked.
It doesn't take
Easily
much of
tizzied.
anything. Because half the time I look at him thinking, what's he mad at, man?
Well, checkpoint 2, we kind of realized that every time the first team gets there, they're opening it for the second team, which I guess is an equalizer to an extent.
Well, Kara and Cook finished this puzzle first and then got to the next checkpoint. And because they had to open the chain fence, that basically ate up a lot of the lead that they had on Paula and Emily.
Well, the food was the big one.
Yeah, the food was the
they still were ahead
equalizer.
after checkpoint 2.
But the fact that they had to go through and break that fence, it did eat up some of the lead that they had.
But the second checkpoint was basically a math problem, geometry, Pythagorean theorem, a squared b squared equals c squared. I don't know what math CT was doing because he was getting like 79,000.
He got 29,000.
It was nowhere near the right thing. But anyway, you have 5 ropes. You get one guess. If you cut the wrong one, then you have to cut all 5. And it's not even a knife. They're using a file. And
That'd take forever.
It works, but yeah, it's very... It would burn your arms out really fast. And so... after a while, Wes and CT just decide to pick one and cut through it, and it turns out they picked the right one.
They got really lucky.
So they get to run, and then Cook happens to look over and notice that it's the same numbers, it's just a different color, and they just took off running after one rope. So she's like, let's just cut the same number they did. And I was like, that's using her brain.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder.
They cut right through it, they get to leave, and then the next 2 teams, they're just stuck there. And... You know, Emily finally works it all out, but they're there for a while, it seems. And
she said she had to do all of the math instead of just cutting through all the ropes because her mom is a math teacher and she'd be disappointed if she cheated.
I mean, she got it right.
She did.
Well, it's not cheating.
Well, not
It's just getting it wrong.
But it would just take forever.
Oh, it would. Their arms would have been done if they had to cut through 5 of those.
Which my question was, if Cook could look at Wes and CT's answer and just figure out it's a different color, but the same answer, why didn't Emily and Paula or Johnny and Frank do that?
I just don't think that they thought about it because they looked like they were on opposite sides.
Yeah, because
Just look over, though. Walk over
I
and
just
check.
don't think it happened.
yeah, and
No, I know it didn't happen.
Cook's not gonna like make it obvious.
Yeah.
That, like, oh, hey, we can just look over here, guys.
Yeah.
You know, like that's something you're gonna kind of keep to yourself, right?
Because they did figure out that they have the same numbers because Frank and them were like, I mean, Emily just told them, hey, it's 184. And so they're like, oh, cut the color of 184. It's just, I think in the heat of the moment, they didn't even think about, oh, well, we could just look at what rope they cut and figure it out. Because there was no rules against it. And so they get to checkpoint 3, and it's food. And this might be the worst food.
Has to be, right?
This is the greatest equalizer.
But, I mean, this might be the worst food, like, elimination part we've seen. Because
we've never seen more yakking.
the projectile.
Yeah, the amount of force behind the vomiting is unreal.
It wasn't even the force. It was the amount of just like liquid that came out of these people.
There was one point when Kara bent over at a 90-degree angle and projectile vomited with such force that it came out her nose at the same time. And it went on for a while. It was like one steady stream.
Became like a fountain.
CT and Kara both had ones on camera that went on about double the amount of time you would expect for a throw up like that to happen.
Yeah,
It's all
like
5
I thought
seconds.
it wouldn't end.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like a lot, but like 5
When
seconds
you're
throwing
doing
up
it-
is a long time.
And
Yeah.
continuously, not like, ugh, ugh. It was
it's
just like
like,
they opened their mouth and it's just, it was like a faucet got turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's bad. And like you saw Cook, like she's just like on her knees throwing up on herself. And it's like,
Yeah.
when you're that miserable, like,
Nothing matters to you anymore.
Frank at one point said that his throat was just sore.
yeah.
And
Because you got to think that's all like acid and stuff
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. This is where I started to see Johnny's performance not like his usual performance in finals. Because so far he's been like the slowest runner. He's just been like kind of jogging along. Frank has had to tell him several times, hey, pick up your pace. Let's go. We got to hurry. And then at the food, he's barely even eating anything. And Frank is trying to make up for his wasted time by like double timing it.
In the food, there's 5 plates. You have to finish them all. There's chilies. There's, and by the way, these are like Thai chilies. And so like,
It's super hot.
if you go to the Thai restaurant here locally, I don't know if you have, Jake. We can't because Hannah's allergic to it. But when I've gone,
yeah, me and you got tired
Okay.
years ago.
okay, so they're like, hey, it's a 1 through 10 like spice scale. If they tell you like, no, like it's really spicy, like take them at their word because they are used to eating like those type of like peppers and stuff. Like I used to get about a 5 out of 10, and it could take you out. So like now, like the last time I went, I think I got like a 2, just because like I don't want to be miserable. And so these
If
peppers,
it's making my nose run, it's too hot.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so these peppers are going to be probably pretty hot. So if you had peppers, the like weird fish soup in a bottle, the worms, the maggots, and the crickets, durian, which durian probably doesn't taste as bad, it's just it smells like rotting garbage and diapers apparently. And then you have dried squid. What one would be the worst one out of those for you?
The
worms.
man,
I think that fish soup,
that's what I was gonna say.
because it's chunky.
I so struggle with anything even mild, like spiciness, that I think the heat of those peppers would
Oh, you'd pick
tear me apart.
I think the peppers, like I at one point Wes is like, just try to swallow them like pills, because I guess if you don't chew them up, the
It doesn't
seeds
coat your mouth.
Yeah, but man, I was worried about those peppers too, but like I think that they all kind of forgot about it real quick when they all started throwing up. Which honestly, that's probably better than having to process all those peppers.
That's like we saw in All Stars when they ate those ghost peppers.
They were
the
dying.
ones that didn't throw up. It was like your stomach was cooking it, and it was making you feel even worse than if you had just thrown it up immediately.
Maybe they did that on purpose. They did the chilies first because they're gonna throw this up like right away.
Yeah.
this chunky fish soup is the worst.
Back to Han's point about bananas, CT did make the statement 2 or 3 episodes prior that Johnny's not in the shape he used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like he's been coasting, and now that he's seeing Wes and CT just take him to town, he's realizing he should have taken this more seriously.
And food is, he said, is his kryptonite. Did you answer which one would be the worst for you?
I said the worms.
So the worms, maggots, and crickets together.
Yes, because
I liked Paula's approach to that,
I
though.
could do the crickets, but the other two, I have a hard time even saying the word of the other one. I just can't.
She couldn't ever be a Slipknot fan because that's what they call themselves.
Nope.
maggots.
Another note on Paula, not only is she a long distance runner, which is absolutely made for challenge finals, she inhaled everything in front of her. She put it away like it was Sunday morning feast. And Emily,
Do you live in like a Dr. Seuss book?
maybe.
When did you
I was
feast
thinking
on
about
Sunday
it.
morning?
Never.
I used to.
A Sunday morning?
Yeah, I didn't grow up going to church, so my mom would get up. It would be sometimes it would, when she didn't work weekends, she would make like a huge breakfast on Sunday mornings.
And
We
you're
would
like,
all just
oh,
eat
the
together.
feast is here.
It was like a feast. No, and then not only was Paula just inhaling everything, Emily was she was like scooping
That's
the
what I'm
worms
saying,
and
like-
the bugs. She was scooping them up in her hand and then just shoveling them into Paula's open
It's
mouth.
like Paula was like a garbage disposal from like the Flintstones, where
That's
you have
it.
like an actual like animal underneath.
Yeah.
Yabba dabba doo.
Yeah, like honestly though, that's not a bad way to do it. Just close your eyes, and then just
and
chew
just
it up.
have somebody just
Yeah.
dump it in your
so
mouth.
you don't have to feel it. You have to
You
look
don't
at
know
it.
what's coming in. You just chew it and swallow.
That's Jake's motto. I don't know what's coming in. I'm just accepting it.
Yeah, I just swallow.
Yep.
Uh,
Don't chew it.
so yeah, that is this checkpoint. Checkpoint 3 was what changed this whole game. Not only did Wes and CT kill it, and Frank and Johnny couldn't get through it, but Kara and Cook couldn't get through it. Mostly Kara.
Kara started to cry, and Cook's like, "Don't cry, just finish it."
Yeah.
I think Cook was starting to lose her patience. And then Frank was losing his patience too, because it was like he was having to coach Johnny through eating the food.
Johnny was taking it personally.
Yeah, Johnny
Frank's
was,
like, "We're going real slow." He's like, "Don't you say that."
yeah, and then Johnny in his confessional in the middle of it was complaining about Frank falling apart. But I can't blame Frank. Frank is the one that's trying to eat everything and keep them in the competition, while Johnny's just kind of standing there looking at it.
I mean, Frank said, "I'm going slow too."
But I can't blame Johnny for being like, dude, Frank, just be quiet for a second, you know? Like, I know we're going slow. Just, like, let me, you know? Like, what good does it do to just, we're going so slow, you know?
I think in Frank's mind, he's like, if I make him aware that we need to speed
He's
up.
aware.
I agree. I
Bananas,
agree
who
with
is
that.
running,
Bananas looked
Plenty
a
of
little.
finals.
He looked checked out though.
I don't think at any point he was checked out.
He looked like
Food,
it. Like
again,
mentally,
he
he
said
was
food
checked
is
out.
his worst thing.
It may be, but I don't think at any point he was like,
No, I don't. He wasn't going to quit or anything.
He wasn't putting in much effort. That's for
don't,
sure.
I don't agree with that hand.
I
This
really
is
don't.
this is your
they were-
seven-time champ.
Not at this point. This
Not
is
at this
two-time.
point, but this
Two-time.
would have been a three-peat.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about it at the top of this final, like, nobody ever done that.
Jarrell had.
Three-peat? Mm-hmm. You're right, he did.
Yeah.
Did he say that?
He did say that. He did say it. He did say it.
He said he wanted it to be his 3-peat, and Frank wanted it to be his 2-peat.
But regardless of that, they did come in fourth. Like, they were the last team, even after Kara and Cook, to finish this. And so you go to checkpoint 4. It's 20 body bags, and they probably just filled with sand, but they didn't say like how much they weighed, but they looked heavy.
So I believe I have context with this specific portion of the final.
All right.
Yeah, I manage a kickboxing gym.
Mm-hmm.
We just this last January changed out all those bags.
Yeah.
And we had to for the most, a lot of them, the new ones we had to bring in, we had to lift up like that, but we didn't have a handle or a grip. We just had to wrap our arms around it and lift. And I remember that's what threw my back out. You're talking about 130-pound bags, and we had to lift up 2 times each on all of them, 38 bags. So how many times is that? What's 2 times 38?
76. 76.
Yeah, so at least, that's not including the
got
bags we
close.
had to take down.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you gave me one of those.
No, he gave me one of them.
Well, regardless, and
those bags were lighter than the ones we put
they're
in.
like,
Are
what,
they?
Yes.
15, 20
okay.
pounds lighter.
Well, you left it upstairs because I was sacred. I had hurt my back. I think at that point, I couldn't do anything. I think we just got back from.
Me and you loaded it into your
Yeah.
hand.
Uh-huh.
We did the loading.
I think I had just gotten back from Utah and my back was messed up, and so I'd been going to chiropractor, and I was like, I've got to get this out of her car, and because of how long and how slick it was, I couldn't get it out of the car by myself at first, and I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, I can't do this, and then I finally got out of the car, and getting that thing downstairs to the basement by myself was a nightmare.
It was, but that was a 14-hour
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And the new ones are heavier.
I imagine these body bags. So the bags we had to pick up were 130 pounds. Mm-hmm. These body bags had to be at least 100.
I would
I
assume
was
100.
guessing they were about 100.
Yeah.
It's miserable. I can say with context, doing 20 of
In
those,
the heat.
that's miserable.
After you just eaten
yeah,
and ran.
Yeah.
that's
and thrown
miserable,
up
man.
like that.
Like, so
I did not like that they kept calling them body bags.
Well, it's a whole horror thing.
I know, but there was just something very unsettling
It's supposed to
about
be.
it.
It's called Nightmare Island.
As a viewer, I didn't like that they were calling them body bags. And then there were at least 2 or 3 that
Looked like it had somebody in it.
That Paul and Emily were moving, and they had just maybe like half a foot hanging over the edge of one of the stretchers. And it looked like feet that were dangling off the end.
I do not think that these were like even mannequins or anything. I'm pretty sure they were just like sand.
I know. I'm not saying that. I thought it was just bags of sand too.
But you didn't like it.
I didn't like it because there were a couple times where Paul and Emily did not have their sandbags centered on their stretcher. It was a little off the edge, and so when they picked it up, it looked like somebody's feet were dangling off the end.
She said,
and I did not like that.
Han said, "That's my man's foot right there."
Like, I don't know, this is a Nightmare Island, but
put him back up there.
It's a little too much.
It was a little too night real.
So they move all the body bags, and it's 20 body bags, and there's instructions underneath that. And I thought at first the instructions were, hey, there's a box buried where you just moved all of the body bags to, so then they were going to have to sift through all those.
That's what I thought.
But it wasn't that. They just had to pull it out, and then surprise, CT and Wes finish first again. Although Johnny and Frank do kind of catch up during this.
Well, Johnny tells Frank that he's caught a second wind and that he thinks
that's
he
a
can
real
do
thing.
It now. Yeah, it is.
And
then he said he noticed how Wes looks kind of out of it, and he's seen that look in his eye before.
I think that's just Johnny trying to take a shot at Wes in the confessionals.
Yeah, but even CT was like,
I mean, it's
like Wes is looking a little weird.
Like, again, they all said like the heat is miserable. Like the first part of the season, everyone slept in the living room because there's no air conditioning.
Yeah.
And like, imagine being out in the middle of the day after throwing up for 30 minutes, eating all that disgusting stuff. Like, you got to feel awful. So they get going.
Cook and Kara are still at body bag 12 out of 20 when Paul and Emily finish.
Yeah, no,
like they
never get past, like, and Frank and Johnny don't either. Those two teams never make it to checkpoint 5. And so checkpoint 5 is the tunnel or rats, or I don't know what it was called, tunnel vision. Anyway, it's a big crank. You got to put this drawbridge down and then dig with your hands in sand to get to a tunnel. And at first I was like, they're going to make them dig a tunnel somehow. But basically, they just put a plywood boxes in there and made tunnels, and you just got to dig all the sand off and then crawl through and climb up through a bunch of bamboo and get the last idol or whatever. But yeah, like Johnny and Frank and Kara and Cook never even make it there.
Well, Wes and CT finish this final checkpoint before anybody even shows up, and then Emily and Paula finish before Johnny and Frank.
They don't make it there.
Even leave it because when the final horn blows at Wes and CT putting up the 5th idol on their platform thing, Johnny and Frank are almost to checkpoint 5. They're like in that weird clearing, and like they almost made it, but then they hear the horn and they're like, it's over.
Yeah, but they still probably had another 15 minutes of like digging and all that type of stuff. So they Wes and CT finish. They get that last idol. They get in a very native looking like canoe, not like a modern kayak like they'd been in before. And then it's got to paddle back to the yacht. And they get there. By the way, we didn't really talk about. They spent the night on the yacht because like they had to have, right? Because we saw them like do a toast and stuff later on. And then they started the next morning at the yacht. So I'm assuming they spent the night on the yacht. But anyway, they make it back. And, I mean, it's just that they see start to finish, Wes and CT were the front runners and they never lost their lead. No, even going back to day 1. Like, they were the only ones to finish the puzzle. And, like, Wes said this was his first final win in 60 years, which I don't remember what the last one he would have won. And then this is obviously CT has never won, he said, in 10 years. And so it's a big, relief for CT because now CT's won, 4 of them? At this point currently in 2021, not knowing what happens in Spies, Lies, and Allies, CT's won 4 now. Mm-hmm. And arguably has had a better run
as of late
post dad bod as far as win percentage than he has, in his prime, like his physical prime. But he does have his head a little bit more on straight than what it was back then. So CT keeps the golden elephant, doesn't want to give it back. And
I don't blame him. It's been 10 years and it's his first win finally. Let him keep it. What's production going to do with it?
I just finished Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which was all about like Indian like artifacts and stuff. There's a lot of like golden elephants and things like that. So it kind of tied in well for me, even though this is Thailand. I know it's not the same. So again, they win, and then Paula and Emily like front runners all season long, like for the girls. Like
dominated the whole season.
I mean,
which did you catch when the horn blew for Emily and Paula? Afterwards, Johnny and Frank and Cara and Cook met up on the shore, and Cook told Johnny and Frank that she wanted to make Paula and Emily work for it. Which I don't think they made them really, because Paula and Emily were already working. They put in work from day one of the season.
Yeah, but Cara and Cook were in the lead until the eating challenge.
They were, but I just took that as Cook thought that she was making them work to get to the final.
I think it was just a throwaway line.
I took that as she wanted to make them work in the final.
Yeah,
like she didn't want it to be a. I didn't think that was a reference to. Because that's a weird comment to make. After the fact. I think it was just in regard, which if you're talking about in the context of just the final, they did make them work.
Yeah, I mean they were like, until Cara like froze up in the eating, like Emily and Paula were behind.
Yeah,
and that was the halfway point of the right after the halfway point of the final. So again, like it's a good win for Emily and Paula.
It's a good win for Paula. I mean,
Paula won?
She's so. I think she had with Johnny.
She had won like the island, and she won with Evelyn.
She did not win the island.
Did she not?
No, that was Evelyn that won with Derek and Johnny and Kenny, I believe.
She had won. Was it Rivals 1?
Maybe.
It was Rivals 1.
Paula Deen.
It's not Paula Deen. I don't care about Paula Deen. I would not have guessed that as her last name. Maronick, which is not her name now because she's married. That's her cast photo from this season. She made the final. She made 3 finals in a row: Inferno 3, Gauntlet 3, and the Island, and then 1 Rivals, and then 1 Rivals 2. Yep. That's a solid run. Like there's cast members who would kill to have her record. 5 finals and won 2 of them.
I think she's so underrated. But I mean, she puts in the work, and she's not. I don't know why people thought that she's not good.
She got sold out on the island. That's what it was. Evelyn switched teams and went with the boys. I think that's what happened in that one.
I do think she showed and fared much better, not just because she won in the latter half. Because how many seasons is that?
She's done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She did 10 seasons.
I would argue the first half of her challenge career, she was not good.
So the first half of her challenge career, she was on the duel, and I don't want to look at how she's done there, but then Inferno 3 final, Gauntlet 3 final, the Island final, which were team finals. I'm aware of that.
But she was
and then
the
Duel 2.
one who she buddied up with all the people that were good and
rode their coattails.
Yes.
She this is her
like Wes's ex-girlfriend, Real World Austin.
Paula is so much better than Johanna.
But that's what Johanna did. She would ride coattails of Wes, and then Kenny and Evan.
Paula's 5-5 in eliminations. Like very, very like.
Yeah, but go see when those wins are. Go see when those elimination wins are.
Oh, I didn't.
Just kind of scroll down.
Let's see. Right here. Doesn't. Oh, she won against Anissa.
Okay.
In Inferno 3. Oh, here we go. She lost against Anissa in the duel. She only made it 4 episodes in. She won against Anissa the next season in the Inferno 3. In the Gauntlet 3, she beat Katie. In the Island, she beat Ashley and Jen, which I don't even really remember Ashley. Let's look that one up in a second. The Duel 2, she lost to. She only faced Anissa.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. She lost to Anissa in the Duel 2. She lost to Evelyn and Luke in Fresh Meat 2. Her partner was Jeff, which I don't remember Jeff, if I'm being really honest. She DQ'd with Emily in Cutthroat. Don't remember that. And then she won against Anissa and Robin with Evelyn. She did have Evelyn as her partner in Rivals. She had arguably the two best females to ever be on the show as her partners in Rivals and Rivals 2.
And you could argue, so Laurel was on with Cara in Rivals 1, right?
In Battle of the Exes, her and Dunbar beat Anissa and Rachel.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, and
That's
then
crazy.
she lost to Ty and Emily, and then she didn't do an elimination on the Rivals.
Because she
2.
could have been a rival with Laurel, too. Because remember that, what season was that where Laurel, tore her
shamed apart.
Yeah.
It was early on. It was
I
maybe
remember
Cutthroat.
No,
It was in that era.
CT was on that season, whichever it was.
I think it was Cutthroat.
I think it might have been
Bec-
Cutthroat.
No, because
Because-
CT wasn't on Cutthroat, but I think
But Wes poured the soda on
It
Cara's
wasn't-
head, and Laurel got mad in defense of Cara, and then came after everybody, and then came after Paula, and
see,
said
Wes
she was
wasn't on
sad
Cutthroat.
and alone, and
yeah, Wes wasn't on Cutthroat. He is right. It was in that era though. It may have been.
Exes?
It wasn't Fresh Meat 2.
What was it?
Was it Rivals 1?
Oh, it may have been.
Yeah, it may have been Rivals 1.
It may have been.
'Cause
Because
that-
Laurel
that-
and Cara.
That was right after
And Wes and
Cutthroat.
Kenny.
CT.
CT and Adam.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
season. Yeah, that's probably it. But I mean, yeah, it's funny that she wasn't a rival with Anissa for how many times they faced off against each other.
yeah.
She made enemies with the right people.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It is she went out on top. This is her last season. I mean, I just think for me personally, when I was watching all these seasons, because she was in the heyday of when I was watching, right? Like she was on all of these seasons that I watched back to back. I always thought of her as a pretty weak competitor. And in retrospect, she's a lot better than what people give her credit for. Honestly, she's better than people like Diem and Anissa and people like that who probably would have a better general popular opinion of.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd take Paula Walnuts all day long.
she always has a good attitude. She's gonna try her hardest, and that's more than you can ask of a lot of these other female competitors.
I'd like to see her come back on one of the All-Star seasons.
That would be fun.
I know she's got 3 kids now.
Well, John A has kids, and she came back.
I know. I didn't say you can't come back if you don't have kids. I just said I know she's got 3
Sounds
kids.
a lot like what you said.
Well, that's just not even close. Right? Who's Ashley Robinson? Let's figure that out. Real World Sydney. So she was on Cohutta and Kellyanne and Dunbar and Isaac. Siobhan. I remember everyone but her.
Yeah, I don't remember.
From her Real World season. Great. She was on one season of the challenge, and she was in one elimination and lost.
The Island.
Yeah, I know.
She was a one and done.
Yeah, there was a few one and dones on the island. It's a weird season overall.
All right.
So anyway, let's get into for the 4 Rivals 2, the last 3 episodes, superlatives. Who smashed some heads?
Wes and CT in more ways than one. One, they smashed Diem's head and heart because she thought they were going to do what she wanted in voting. And then they smashed really Johnny's, but also Frank's head in the entire final, and then won.
CT got his first win.
Yeah. That's I'm gonna give it CT. I know it's the obvious choice, but CT
There's not a lot to choose
CT
from
and
here.
Wes, they were rivals. They came together, had an iconic run, and then CT gets his first win after all of the close calls and seasons he could have won, should have won, all that type of stuff. So who got their head smashed?
Diem the entire 10th episode.
And then she was gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Cara. She kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
She did. I thought Cook was going to strangle her.
I mean, she cost them that final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they would have won, but she was the weak link in that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll give it to Jimmy. She shouldn't have even been here. You know what? Maybe I got my head smashed because she shouldn't have even been on the final. Camilla, they wouldn't have had a chance, though, going forward. But that's Rivals 2. We're done with Rivals 2. We're not watching the reunion. You can watch it on Paramount Plus if you really want to.
Hey, and you know what's true about Jimmy?
Don't hold my hand.
Is
She's a lifeguard. Or was.
But she got closer to winning than Big T ever will.
That might be true.
That is true, Zach.
Yeah.
That is true.
So where just for the sake of overall, where would you have Camilla in your like power rankings of like female competitors?
Well, I think she's top 5.
That's what I figured.
I'd put her in my top 5.
So you would have to partner Big T up with someone who's like a top 5.
Yes.
For her to make it as far.
Yeah.
And
there are no top 5s around right now.
I'd agree with that.
There may not even be any top 10s around right now.
It's a little early to call. Jenny West might be one of those.
But she's not around.
Well, she's.
Are you talking about this new season of Spies?
Talking
well,
she
just won.
Yeah, but I mean, is she around though?
I don't know. Herm Bananas
Yeah.
just won the last Total Madness. Not Double Agents, but Total Madness.
I would say like people who have been on in the last.
That's 2 seasons ago.
Is that 2? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, it was only 2 seasons ago.
All right, sure. If you want to count that, I guess I just like.
It's early because she doesn't have the track record.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she's getting calls.
Physically, though, she's almost unmatched.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'd all agree probably top 5 all time. Laurel, Evelyn.
Yes.
Not necessarily in this order. Emily, Cara, and Camilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty unanimous top 5.
I think so.
I don't know who would displace any of those 5. The guys are a little bit harder.
Emily's downfall is that she does not want to get physical with other people.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I can't even think of someone right now who I would even have like contending for that spot to take Camilla out.
Because Jenny West is the same way.
I do think Camilla is the 5th out of those 4. I mean, those 5.
I would honestly
Maybe Emily could be the 5th.
I would put Emily 5th.
I could see that. I'm not going to argue that one way or the other.
Yeah, Camilla's not afraid to put her hands on you.
Or herself.
But I think those are the clear-cut top 5.
Yeah, I agree. So
Big T bottom 5.
I don't know if she's bottom 5.
I would not say that.
I'm pushing the envelope.
I'd say she's in the bottom half of the amount of challengers we've had on.
Bottom quarter.
Her being a very good swimmer helps her.
In that one daily.
But we've seen how often swimming is used in the challenge in dailies and in finals.
Yeah.
That's something Kara can't do. This
can't make a
final,
case for her.
Cook
Sitting
literally
working.
had to grab her life jacket and swim with her.
This was also 10 years ago.
2013.
Yeah, but Kara still can't swim.
So here's the thing, though.
Kara's also the only sole winner ever on this challenge.
here's where you're getting to. I'd take Kara, who can't swim, even in 2013,
$1,000,000,000%
every day over swimming Big T, who's not going to do anything but just run with you.
There's no case you can make for Big T. Not one.
Especially over Kara at any point in Kara's career.
Absolutely not.
Even Fresh Meat 2, day 1, Kara goes home with Darrell. I still would take her.
I forgot about that. I'm thinking in terms of this particular final, Big T could not have carried the body bags.
Oh, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, she would not have been able to carry the body bags because Kara was barely able to do it. And she had this, I noticed there were a couple times where she like moved her arms the right way, and you could tell this is when she had started trying to get in shape for these.
I think she's always been in shape.
No,
she
but
just wasn't
she
big,
was
muscly.
starting to build more muscle for these.
Yeah, Big T could have done that. She wouldn't have been able. We don't know about the eating. I'm assuming eating's not going to be.
She does not
forte.
strike me as someone.
We've had a food challenge with Big T recently because Was she not on the season that Fessy and Anissa were partnered and Fessy wouldn't eat? Did Big T eat anything?
I don't remember. That was a small eating challenge in that like factory at night or whatever. I honestly don't remember. It didn't stick out.
I don't know how she would do in an eating challenge, and that's the big equalizer for a lot of these people.
And then like there's no point in
you're
debating
reaching
this.
for straws here.
I'm not.
are.
I'm trying to see, could she do this? Could she do that? I know she would not have
The
helped.
Cracker Barrel puzzle would have been her best bet.
Is she good at puzzles?
Who knows? She's not ever needed to show.
She'll never make a final.
I would put money. The money is good odds on that. Even having CT as a partner most of the season still didn't make a final. So I hope you guys enjoyed that Big T roundup at the end of this episode. Patreon.com/SmashingHeads podcast. Lots of stuff going on over there. Follow us everywhere at Smashing Heads on Twitter, at Smashing Heads podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And this will drop the weekend of later, even though this is being recorded on Tuesday. It won't drop till after the next episode 5 of Spies, Lies, and Allies. So you already know episode 5 by now. Still think Huey yelling about how he has friends is the reason they're in elimination is the funniest thing that's maybe ever happened in an elimination. But we'll be back with you guys next week, but not with any more rivals.
We do it all for you Big T stands. Have a good night, everyone.